I'm John, welcome to my channel, Disquiet and Dragons, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Otherworldly Wylding Hall by Elizabeth Hand. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. I'm at a place called Calke Abbey today. The reason I've come here is this is actually the place that I looked at videos and photographs that I'd taken when I was trying to imagine the setting for the wonderful Wylding Hall, which I reread recently. So I thought it was quite appropriate to come here because I really want to talk about Wylding Hall. It's just possibly my favourite folk horror novel. It's amazing. So, Wylding Hall is a 2015 novella written by the American author Elizabeth Hand. I'd describe it as a folk horror. It's very atmospheric, very ethereal, very otherworldly. And the story itself, it follows a folk band in the early 1970s called Wind Hollow Fair. And even though the majority of the story takes place in the 1970s, it's actually being told in modern day in an interview format by the members of Wind Hollow Fair, minus the singer. The singer Julian, he actually goes missing, and it's not a spoiler, you find that out very early on. And the remainder of the band are talking about what happened. This band, their manager, he thought they really needed to get an album out because they were doing okay, but he thought they could, with the talent they had, they should be really famous. So he hires this country estate, Wylding Hall, for them to go down, no distractions, because they were based in London. So as you can imagine, London in the 70s, there were lots of distractions. So the band, they all go to Wylding Hall and they start writing songs and practicing and rehearsing. And Wylding Hall is not, there's something not quite right with it. It's some really strange things happen while they're there, and some people feel a bit uncomfortable and other people find it very liberating to be there, and they want to explore what's going on and why it feels so otherworldly. And we find all this out being told in retrospect by the various members of the band. It's extremely well done. As you hear each band member talking to I'm not actually quite sure who it is that's interviewing them, but the band, it's like they're talking to you almost, and you learn the dynamics of the band and who got on with who and why things didn't quite go to plan. And the more you learn in Wylding Hall, it feels the less you actually know. It's a very cleverly written book. You could read it and you could think, yeah, it's unreliable narrators, nothing happened. Or the way it's written, you could think to yourself, something absolutely happened there, whether it be supernatural, otherworldly, anything like that. It really is open to interpretation. I'm not going to say what I think happened because it really could spoil the story. But if slow burn, ethereal folk horror is your thing, and it is a folk horror, because even as whimsical as this story comes across at times, there are some very, very dark moments, and there are a couple of moments that are genuinely quite creepy. But because it's quite a slow burn story, when the scarier moments do happen, they just hit that much harder, because you think, oh, this is such a beautiful book and nothing bad is going to happen, and then bad happens. But really, really well paced and well thought out story. Another thing as well is it's incredibly well researched. There are like folk songs that are mentioned in this book, and they're quite obscure songs and real songs, so it's obvious that the author really took her time in making sure that the setting and everything felt just right with this story. As I mentioned earlier, Wylding Hall is such an atmospheric tale. Every single word seems to serve a purpose. It's meticulously written. The prose is absolutely beautiful. And despite it being quite a slow burn novel, it's very well paced. At no point do you think that the story drags. I think it being quite a short book certainly helps with that. But as likeable as all the characters are and as well written as they are, it is the atmosphere and the setting that absolutely steal the show. It's otherworldly and ethereal and quite unreal and dreamlike at times. There's times when the story seems to be floating along in such a dreamy way, and you can't help but feel pulled along by the story. And with that dreamlike ethereal quality, you do discover a book that I don't consider I read this book. It's very much a book that you feel. It's very much a story that gets in your head and makes you think and makes you feel. And it's a story that really has stuck with me. I read it first, I think it was last October. My dear friend Ellie at Bibbidi Bobbidi Books messaged me, and she knows the kinds of books I like, and she's like, I really think you'll enjoy this. I got it straight away and started reading it, and I read it again last month as part of the Disquiet and Dragons book club, and yeah, it sticks with you. There's parts of this story that just, I'll be going along just doing, random things during my day, and I'll suddenly think of Wylding Hall. I think that really is the mark of a fantastic story. So, as you can probably tell, I definitely recommend this book, especially if you're quite new to horror, or if horror is a genre that you'd like to try. It's quite, as I said, it's quite a slow burn story, but that's not to say that nothing happens. It's a very well paced story, and there's no gratuitous violence or gore, and it never really gets any worse than creepy. I wouldn't say it's a scary book. Definitely creepy in places, but yeah, I don't think there's anything too bad in it, and would be a good place to start. The other people that I'd recommend it to is people that haven't tried or maybe aren't sure about audiobooks. The audiobook to this is absolutely superb. With the story being told in interview format, each character has got their own voice actor or narrator. It's just told in such a brilliant way, and the story really does lend itself to being told in an audio format. I got the audiobook on Audible, Absolutely fantastic, well worth checking out if you've got Audible. So, as you can probably tell by this video, Wylding Hall is a book that I absolutely adore. Absolutely loved my time with this book. I'm so thankful to my friend Ellie for recommending it to me. It's possibly a book I would never have found on my own, so I'll be eternally thankful to her for that. It's a truly wonderful story. Absolutely love this book. It's a story that I will definitely be reading again and again and again. Just brilliant stuff. If you've read Wylding Hall, I'd love you to put a comment and tell me what you thought of the book, whether you liked it as much as I did or whether it wasn't quite for you. Either way, I'd love to hear your opinion on the story. And if there's any other folk horrors that you love, please let me know. I adore folk horror. It's probably my favourite genre of stories to read. And when it comes to folk horror, I'd say that Wylding Hall is probably my favourite folk horror so far, and it's probably one of my favourite books that I've ever read. I would say it's probably my top 5 books ever. It's just amazing. I loved it. So that just about brings us to the end of this video. I'm going to go and have a wander around Calke Abbey, the building itself. It's a fascinating building. I'll put some video of the inside of the house up after I've said goodbye to you all. As always, thank you ever so much for watching and subscribing and commenting. It really does mean a lot to me. I truly am thankful to all of you who check the channel out. It really means a lot to me. But yeah, that's about it for now. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying what you're reading wherever you are. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.